Hey everybody and welcome to this show. As you can see, I have got the wrong screen up. So I better start that one again. Right. Take two.
That's good.
Hey guys, and welcome to the show. I pressed the wrong button, it came up with the one up screen. So we have the correct
Oh my
screen up
God.
now. So how are you, Fernando?
No, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. As always, my Friday mornings with you guys are amazing.
Yes, and it's just Guy tonight. Unfortunately, Jeremy can't make it. He's got things on, so he's going to be a
Oh,
little bit scarce for the next week or two, but then he'll be back full bore after that. So, what have you got for us tonight, Fernando?
well, we've always been talking about um, doing shows on locations that are out here in the States. So I figured why not start off with one of the most infamous locations here in the United States, which is Eastern State Penitentiary.
How exciting.
Uh,
And
yes.
you're lucky enough
Yes.
to have been there.
Yes, I've actually gone there twice. The first time I went was pretty much when I started getting into visiting famous locations. Because when I started the whole paranormal, it was actually so embarrassing that I shared this story with Joe Frank. So we're in the neighborhood where I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. It is a very heavy Latino populated area.
Hmm.
So, not saying that Latinos don't believe in the paranormal, but we're very hush hush about it. Like it's just something you don't talk about. And especially back in the early 2000, it's like if you talk about it, they'll look at you like you're crazy.
Yep.
Like get this person in a mental institute. So, when I had my very first experience, I was 13, so I always had that just in there. So when I started doing paranormal investigations, it was. Do you remember the movie Home Alone?
Yes.
Do you remember that Macaulay Culkin had a talk boy? It's like a tape recorder with a little mic that sticks out.
No, that was your
Oh, I think
EVP.
it's Home Alone 2. I believe it was Home Alone 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that your EVP recorder?
But it worked. But it actually worked
Well, there you go.
because I had a friend back in the day, and then we would not often, but he would mention that creepy stuff would happen, and one day I just decided to take the talk boy and just hang out with him and just talk, and then something actually came through. So I ended up taking it to in the Latino area. We're very uh, close to our pastors, so I actually ended up taking that voice recording to him. He ended up helping my friend, and yeah, the embarrassing part was the talk boy, but that's how I
You were
was
so
doing
cool.
my paranormal stuff.
You were so
I
cool.
was walking around with it.
Please tell me, as you got into your teenage years, you went out ghost hunting, recording with a ghetto blaster on the shoulder.
I never did that. No, I never did that. But I tell you what, that talk boy works, and they've gone and I have taken it to a couple of cemeteries back in the day. But Eastern State Penitentiary was actually my first, high profile place that I gone, and I never investigated it because they actually offer a tour.
Mm.
It's a self guided tour, and it is awesome. So once you pay for admission, they give you like this MP3 player with headphones, and there are arrows. You could walk around the whole entire place penitentiary, Granted, there are some certain cell blocks that are just closed off due to, you know, it just looks, like all crumbled up, due to safety. Unfortunately, I think these cell blocks are very active, but they have it closed off.
Yeah.
So it's uh, but yeah, it's actually very cool because you follow like a certain, like you come across these numbers on posters, or like they have numbers, and you just punch in the number into your MP3 player, and then
It does a
they'll,
spill. Yep.
like, a person starts talking about this. It's actually called, I'll tell you right now because I'm on their website. There's just so much, so I can't really remember everything off the top. But it's called the Voices of Eastern State Audio Tour, and it talks about everything.
Uh,
It's actually an award-winning exhibit. Wow, I didn't know it was award-winning.
is that the prison that they used when they recorded the Shawshank Redemption, or was that a different one? The prison scenes. I know it was recorded at one of those infamous prisons, which is always
I want to say I think Shawshank was recorded in Alcatraz.
no,
No,
no, it wasn't Alcatraz. I think it was something like Eastern State or one of those.
if it did, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that information. But that's cool. That's cool. um, but yeah. So to get a bit into the history of Eastern State, um, Eastern State opened up and had their very first inmate in 1829.
Oh wow, that's
But
right going back.
the construction started in the late 1700s. So the reason why Eastern State looks the way it looks, it is because there's actually a real good reason for it. I'm gonna pull it up right now because they had a contest
Yep.
for architects. I cannot remember their name off the top, but one of them won, and it was because he gave a goth like Gary Castle vibe into his blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for it is because they want people to be afraid to commit crime.
Makes
So what
sense.
better way to create something that looks like something off of Game of Thrones? Because literally, that's the entrance looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
And once you drive up about like 2 blocks away, you start seeing the wall, the famous wall. You can't miss it. You could be a couple of miles off, and you're gonna see this freaking. I believe it is um, the wall. If I'm not mistaken, it is 12 inches. 12 inches. No, that doesn't sound right.
12
I have
inches.
all
My
my
God, you could almost step over it with a kilt on.
no.
12 inches. All the ladies will know exactly what 12 inches. They're all
No.
going
That's
dream
that's
on.
definitely wrong. But yeah, this wall is actually massive. I'm gonna pull up the information because I actually have an article on it. Also, I wrote an article. It's on Our Paranormal World, and it's on my website. And I tell you, it is 30 feet high, 10
So it's
feet
about
thick.
10 meters thereabouts.
Yeah, yeah. So it is absolutely massive, and yeah, but it's amazing. It's an amazing location. It is the location where all of your favorite um, ghost hunters, TV shows, they all went to this location,
Mm.
which is unfortunate because today they don't allow paranormal investigations anymore.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, yeah.
See, we can
If they
still do them here at Fremantle Prison, but my team was the first team allowed in. And we sort of set the scope and got got them thinking about it as a commercial thing. And unfortunately, they do think of it as a commercial thing now, and it costs an absolute fortune to get a few hours in there by yourself to do your stuff. So, and they do tours and everything as well, but it's probably around the same sort of. It's not quite as old as Eastern State, but there are a lot of stories and haunting type situations there. But do head towards the haunting of Eastern State and what's going on. What sort of activity you get there?
Wow. You get everything from shadow figures, and I'm just gonna start off from the extreme. There's been reports of shadow figures, touching, pushing, obviously phantom voices, not EVP, which is two different things. Because EVP is off the device, off your voice recorder.
Yeah,
Phantom voices, you
yeah,
actually hear it with
yeah,
your
disembodied
ears.
voices. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, all the way down to footsteps, um, aggressive running. That I don't know about you, but I get the chills every time, even if I see like one of these, you know, paranormal call on tape stuff, and then you hear the ding 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 running towards you. I get the extreme chills. That's like one of the most creepiest things because that actually happened to me in a cemetery, so you can only imagine. Um, but yeah. So it's very haunted, which is why I think that possibly they don't allow investigations because you know they don't need proof anymore. Like they already know.
yeah.
Maybe.
It's sad because there's a lot of people. There's a specific market for that kind of a tour as well, and it's usually when it's closed for business that these groups, like my group and like your group and everything, like to go in these places. It's money that they wouldn't normally be making, so I don't know why they wouldn't still be open to it.
Yeah, no. I believe I read on their pamphlet that if you're caught with certain devices, you'll be asked to leave the premises. Yeah. So
No,
I mean
no.
that doesn't mean actually I follow this guy on TikTok and he gave me a pretty cool idea with a spirit box, but
Yeah.
not the SB7 with the other one. Oh, what's the name of it? It is a spirit box, but it actually you could put it down to like mute. You can mute the sound, but it's still recording while you're doing whatever. You could walk around. You can mute the sound, but it's still recording. And it takes a micro SD card.
Oh,
So you
okay.
could save
Yeah.
the whole thing. So I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Mm.
That's a good idea because as long as you don't walk around with a voice recorder and showing it off to everybody, you could possibly walk around with it like on a pocket if you have one here and just walk around.
When we when we
That'll be interesting.
yeah, when we did the Lynn and I did the Fremantle prison tour with a few friends. It's called a Torchlight Tour, and they've got a couple of people that jump out at a couple of bits just to try and scare you and stuff like that. But I had my K2, and it was flatlining all the way through until we got to the gallows, and it started flashing. And unfortunately, the poor nerdy tour guide was not happy because people were spending more time looking at the K2 than they were listening to his stories, and he's like, "What's that?" I said, it's an EMF detector. It picks up fluctuations in the EM field, which is what spirits tend to disrupt. So this is picking up those disruptions. And everywhere went from there. They weren't following him. They were following me and Lynn. And every time it goes off, you'd hear other people going, "Oh, it's going off." And he sort of comes up later and he goes, "Can you put that away, please, so I can finish the tour?" So I got told off on a tour
Oh
of
my
Fremantle
god.
Prison.
You know what? Possibly that could be it. Possibly that could probably
Other
be
side
it
of the world, mate.
because
Other side of the world. That we are not the cause for Eastern State to be shut down to paranormal investigators.
no, but that does bring up a certain point because I would think that these places, just like restaurants, it could reach a max capacity.
Mm.
And for a business, you would like a rotation. And we all know that if you're concentrating, especially in a paranormal investigation, time flies by and you're just in the same place.
Mm.
So I definitely see myself, like, if I was to go in there, I would spend literally from the moment they open to the moment they close, which is from like 10 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock. And I'm just in there, just walking around, looking and running into things. But yeah, yeah, definitely. It was very, very interesting. Although they did do a lot of changes um, from the last time I went, which was over the summer. They reconstructed Al Capone's cell, because when I went there the first time, it looks like how you would, like a beat up cell block, but
Yeah.
with its original furniture that they kept in pristine condition, considering. And this time around, they fixed the walls, they painted it, and they made it look like how it looked when he was in there.
Yep.
So yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know who Al Capone is, he is the most, if not the most famous gangster, whoever did it. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I talk. Oh, sorry. Something's going on tonight. They're not wanting me to talk tonight. Uh, the only reference point I have is Fremantle Prison, because it's pretty much the only one we can go into around here, and they have similar sort of programs in place. Like a lot of the cells, famous cells, have been restored. Like you got Moondyne Joe, who's a famous bushranger here, and there was this guy. There was this guy that was a counterfeiter. He was locked up for counterfeit stuff. But what he
wow.
did to pass the time away, he drew on the walls, and he had some absolutely ridiculous, elaborate paintings to the point now they've got actual perspex covering it all so people can't get to it, and you can still see it. And Moondyne Joe, for anybody, I know this is Eastern State, so we'll get back to that in a sec, but people in WA, we all know Moondyne Joe. He was famous. He got arrested for, I think, stealing bread or something like that, or cows, or one of those kind of things. And he kept getting locked up, but he kept escaping. And it got to the point where they kept retrofitting his cell to make it more escape-proof. And they actually ended up turning around to him and saying, if you can break out now, we won't come chasing you. And guess what? He broke out. So they let him go, but he ended up getting pinged for something else later on. He ended up back in bloody jail again, but he's the one man that they couldn't keep in. And just what you were talking about then, about restoring a lot of the cell blocks and keeping it all, bringing it back to what it was like back then. Yeah, Fremantle Prison is very much the same. So I've actually been in there locked twice overnight, not for being a naughty boy, but for doing some investigation stuff and things like that. And it happened to be on my birthday both nights, so it was a hot summer's night. And this is a limestone building without air conditioning. Oh, it was terrible. But anyway, back to Eastern State.
But you spoke about an escape from that prison.
Yeah.
Considering how this prison was built, not so long after it finally opened, because I'm gonna have to go through my notes over here, which is uh, in 1829, the prison received its first prisoner, and just the details on how they kept record is ridiculous.
Mm.
But their very first escape attempt was in 1832. He actually went. He actually escaped but got caught, and then a couple of years later, he escaped again the same way. he was a. Let me see if I could. So the inmate's name is William Hamilton. He was a warden's waiter. So I guess they have certain special privileges, for waiting on the warden. Um, and he saw an opportunity from the roof of the front building to which he was able to lower himself from. He was apprehended shortly after, but he attempted his second time in 1837 using the same method. So it's crazy. It's crazy because when you're inside Eastern State, like you're just basically like
Mm-hmm.
there's no way because even the walls to get over,
Yeah, they're
the
pretty high walls.
the 12-inch wall, you know, even with the 12-inch wall to step
Doing it
over,
again. I'm gonna have to put some porno music over this little bit. Okay, maybe that's not porno music. It's been a long time since I watched a porno. So. Oh, I never watched a porno in my life. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Of course not. But yeah, what's interesting about also Eastern State is that um, the s- the cell blocks that you do have access to walk through. In certain cells, they have like art exhibits. They
Mm-hmm.
have certain different exhibits in there. I actually took. I have a bunch of pictures that I'll send to you, so what I'm talking about. Um, they even have a a cell that was filled with all the insects, animals that lived within the walls while the prison was active. So you see a carcass, like a mummified cat. You see certain pigeons. You see um, rats, bugs. You see a bunch of stuff in there.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. They had an exhibit where, and it's funny because I have a video of my son going like, "I don't understand how they did it," because they actually got a full like a car inside one of these cell blocks, and there's no way to do it because the entrance into these cell blocks are, I'm gonna say, 5 by 3,
What, inches?
maybe. No, no, like 5 feet,
Yeah.
5 feet by 3 feet. Like, there's no way. There's no way.
No, you wouldn't get a car
So,
through that.
we speculate that they, or in the words of my son, he goes like, "Did they take it apart and put it back inside like Legos?"
But it might not have been far off the mark, but maybe not quite like Lego. Maybe more like the old Meccano sets.
Um, but yeah, it's a very interesting place. And as you walk around, I you've heard this before. Like, the more you get yourself into a paranormal environment, you tend to start picking up on certain things a little bit more than,
Yep.
I'm gonna say, normal people, right? Um, you do get the sense of. I remember I was walking. I want to say cell block. I believe it was 6, and then there was this poster. You could punch in the number. They have the number, so they could tell you the story. And it was about a dog. So Eastern State Penitentiary actually had an inmate dog. It
Wow.
had it has the number, it has the freaking the mugshot.
The paw prints.
Hold on. I just remembered because they do have a gift shop, and I ended up buying a refrigerator magnet, and I have it right here. I'm gonna show it to you guys. So his name is. Let me see how I could do it. His name is Pep.
It looks like it look. You know when you watch a film and they're getting their mugshots done and they don't look happy? The dog's got that exact same face.
I'm telling you, look at this. Oh my god. Yes, yes. Apparently he got arrested for killing the mayor's cat.
I don't know, criminal dogs. It's terrible.
But yeah, I'm not gonna say that I felt something with the dog, but during that cell block, while you're walking up and down, I did get a sense of sadness, almost to the point where I was almost tearing.
Wow.
It was very weird. But when I was walking through death row, I felt like a lot of anxiety, like almost if I was an inmate in death row, which I can only imagine the level of anxiety they're going through. um there were some areas, there was an area that was like a courtyard, um where inmates go to do their exercise. You know what? I think it was the courtyard for death row inmates, because
Yep.
they would take them out one by one. They're not allowed to, to be with people, and there, I felt like really angry for some reason. Really angry. Yeah. So definitely, like if you're in tune with your feelings, you do tend to feel certain spots within this place where you feel certain things, for sure. Uh, the cool thing is that they have televisions all over the place showing you certain history about the 12-inch wall. They had a rock climber, a famous rock climber, and they recorded the whole thing. So
I
basically,
bet you that was a long video
there's
getting over the 12-inch wall.
all right. Let me see. I think I said it was 30 feet high, right? 30 feet.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Not 12 inches.
so this guy used all of his equipment to get over the wall. So there's no way anybody ever.
About that big, the wall. Thereabouts.
So the rock climber ended up.
Did he abseil down the other side of the stick?
So there's this video of this rock climber, and like him using all of his equipment, and there was no way anybody could have done it without anything. And I believe there I don't recall I read anything of anybody going over the wall ever. Possibly. If you guys go to their website, I'm not trying to promote Eastern State because I'm not getting paid for it, but they they have a whole timeline from 1776 all the way to 2017.
Wow.
And it's
Is that when it closed?
very detailed. Huh?
Is that when it closed? 2017.
No, actually, I missed it. But there was a good period where Eastern State was abandoned,
Yeah.
and you could have just walked in.
Whoa.
I missed it, and it was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I am so pissed off because I was probably not in the there yet, but it was abandoned. Just like every other abandoned location, there's graffiti, broken this, just people just went in there and basically, did whatever. Um, yeah, I don't think I would be able to find that location in a short period of time, but it was abandoned for several years, and the city ended up wanting to give it some life. So they wanted it to preserve the history and all this, because it's actually a very historic place, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. uh it's actually not that far from the scene of Rocky running up the steps.
Oh yes, yep. That famous scene. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a place that you could just spend the whole entire day, like just that area,
Cool.
because
Yeah, anyway,
it's
we
pretty cool.
we are out of time. So do you want to sort of sum it up for everybody who hasn't been there, and then we will punch out?
All I could say is that if you are a paranormal investigator, or even if you are curious and just want to wander around, I argue probably one of the most famous haunted locations in the United States, go to Eastern State Penitentiary. And even even just take a gander, just listen to your tour, or just walk around. It is an amazing experience.
Well, yeah.
I would definitely do it again.
Oh, we'll definitely do it when
And
we get over there.
as far as how much it costs, I think it's $45 a ticket. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
On that, I think it's
Definitely
time to
a bucket
go.
list.
So until next time, take it easy, everyone.
Have a good one, you guys.